THC. Have you ever asked yourself, what's the hero's journey? Well, I'm here today to explain it with a lizard. You may be asking yourself, what does a lizard have to do with the hero's journey? And what is Rango? Well, Rango is a film by Verbinski, and he directed films like the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and Hans Zimmerman did the wonderful music. So you may still be asking yourself, what does a lizard have to do with me? In a world that calls you cringe for being yourself, I'm here to be kawaii and show you guys the way of the hero's journey. So, in a new West Jake, there's no room for explaining anymore. We're businessmen now. I'm choosing instead to be that slinger. So you may be wondering, this epic adventure movie you think was targeted at kids? Let me be that owl for you, because I want to give you that feeling of the strange play that it gave me and why I think it's absolute genius. So in the hero's journey, the ordinary world, Rango is a pet chameleon living in a glass tank acting out imaginary hero roles. He performs fake identities, pirate, cowboy, hero, but none of them are real or tested. His world is safe, controlled, and meaningless. This is the classic false self stage, the old world, ego as performance. Before the desert, Rango, voiced by Johnny Depp, exists in a sealed, artificial reality. He is a pet in a glass tank. He acts out identities, pirate, warrior, outlaw, but none is real experience. His heroism is imagination without consequence. This is the ego in its purest form, identity without embodiment. He doesn't become anything. He performs what he thinks is the greatest look. So, the call to adventure. A crash in the desert throws him into a complete unfamiliar world. He is stranded in the Mojave Desert. He stumbles into the town of dirt. The town needs a sheriff. This is the call, survival, identity pressure. Who are you when no one is watching? So the ego creates the call to adventure, which is the identity collapse. The call isn't a mystical invitation, it's a break of the illusion. The car crash forces him into the desert. He controlled environment is now destroyed. His scripted identity stops working. He is no longer able to perform safely. The key here is the ego doesn't receive the call to adventure. It creates it by collapsing. He needs the hero as a way to be able to meet a world that refuses to be acted upon. So, to call it simply, let's see who you are when no one is watching and nothing is scripted. Which leads us into the refusal of the call. At first, Rango doesn't step into the heroism willingly. He lies constantly. He improvises identity instead of claiming the truth. He becomes the sheriff by accident and performs not convincing. He accepts the role before he understands it. Fear reveals then that the gap between who he is and who he performs to be in dirt. Rango tries to survive the only way he knows. He lies, he improvises his identity, he overcompensates with confidence, but the desert doesn't reward him for its performance. It exposes it. Fear shows him the truth. He is not yet the hero he pretends to be. His identity is unstable. The courage is borrowed, not owned. This is the hero's journey, as in crisis near. So then we go into the meaning of the mentor. His main mentor is the harsh environment itself, plus the character, the spirit of the West. There is no traditional wise teacher. The armadillo he believes is the spirit of the West later represents the truth before it is understood. The truth of the West is actually representing the truth after it is integrated. Guidance was regained for Rango through trial and error, failure, chaos, and mythic pressure. In the hero's journey terms, the mentor is the world forcing truth out of him. So then we cross the threshold. Rango fully enters the role as sheriff in dirt. He commits to protecting the town. He starts believing his own truth. He becomes part of a larger Western narrative. This is the fantasy identity becomes responsibility. Which leads us into tests, allies, and enemies. So allies, beings. the town folk accidentally pose. Enemies, the rattlesnake Jake and the water conspiracy. Tess, the blink blink fights. Deception, leadership failure exposes of lies. The core test is not physical, it is truth versus performance. So in replacing core beliefs, the real transformation as he goes through the trials, something subtle changes. Old belief systems. I become important by acting important. Identity is something I perform. Heroes are made by reputation. New belief systems. Identity is proven through action under pressure. Truth matter more than image. Courage is choosing responsibility without certainty. This is not confidence being added, it is the illusion being removed. So the abyss or the revelation, this is the emotional collapse point. Rango exposed as a fraud, he loses authority and identity. The town rejects him. This is a classic hero's journey, death of the false self. This is the returning point where he stops performing and starts becoming real, facing fear and dismantling the false self. The turning point happens when he is exposed as a fraud and rejected. This is where the ego must die. No more status, no more story protection, no more social role to hide behind. Instead of escaping, he stays in the discomfort. That shifts everything. Fear stops being something he performs through and becomes something he actually experiences. And in that experiences, the ego loses authority, which leads to transformation. So Rango defines himself from actor to authority figure, from storyteller to truth teller, from fantasy hero to earned hero. He no longer pretends to be brave, he acts despite of fear. The hero emerges when action replaces performance. Once Rango stops trying to look like a hero, he starts making real decisions under the threat, protecting others without certainty, acting without needing validation. This is the core shift from I am playing the hero to I am acting because it is necessary. That is the moment he becomes real. So, in the Return with the Elixir, he then restores water to dirt. The town survives the corrupt water system. Rango is no longer a liar. He is a legend grounded in his truth. But importantly, he doesn't return to the old world. He transforms the new one instead. So the final integration, the hero identity plus responsibility. By the end, he is no longer just the actor waiting for opportunity. He is no longer the ego trying to be seen as special. He becomes someone whose identity is defined by what he chooses to do under pressure. The hero he always dreamed of wasn't missing before. It was just untested, ungrounded, unearned. The hero's journey doesn't give himself a new self. It removes the false one until the one that is real behavior remains, the true Rango. So you may still be asking yourself, what does a lizard have to do with me in the hero's journey? What Rango is really saying about the hero's journey is unlike a traditional hero myth. Rango is about identity being constructed through performance, the shattering by reality, then rebuilt through responsibility. So the deeper arc is you don't discover who you are by acting the part. You discover it when the act breaks and you choose the truth instead. So the core insight of Rango's hero's journey is that the ego creates the crisis by failing to survive reality. Fear dissolves the performance and the hero emerges when no longer depending on identity, or simply, he doesn't become a hero by finding himself. He becomes a hero by stopping the one he pretended to be and choosing to live his truth instead. So now I invite you all to your own call to adventure. Welcome to your own hero's journey. Hi, I'm THC. I make growing tangible. If you'd like to be able to work with me, just hit me up with the BIO. I hope you guys have a great day. Please go check out Rango. It's a fantastic film. And overall, I just want you guys to be able to live your dream life. So please go enjoy a movie today. Go expand your consciousness. And also, why not enjoy a kawaii western? Have a great day, everyone. Bye.